Hi, I want to talk about grenade launchers, so let's get right to it. There's approximately 2 grenade launchers in the finals, the CL-40 for medium class and the MGL-32 for heavy class. Despite being ostensibly the same concept, that being a gun that shoots, or mayhaps launches, grenades, these 2 weapons occupy 2 completely different niches in the finals. The CL-40 is a pump-action grenade launcher with a 4-round magazine that deals 69 damage in an area of effect and deals an additional 24 damage for direct hits, totaling up to 93 damage. It takes 2 direct hits to kill a light, 3 to kill a medium, and all 4 rounds to kill a heavy. That is quite a bit of damage, all things considered. However, due to the pump action, this thing ends up having a slower TTK than many other options, and especially in the case of the heavy matchup, you will straight up lose most 1v1 fights. Additionally, the CL-40 has 25% reduced self-damage, so don't be too afraid of CQC. Something else to note about the CL-40 is that, unlike many other weapons in this game, it does not suffer from bloom of any kind. Whenever you fire this thing, it will always go towards where you want it to, meaning that you can do just about anything you want and still make clean shots. Now, when it comes to strategies using the CL-40, I believe that the best specialization to bring alongside our explosive friend here is the Guardian turret. Due to the CL-40 reloading 1 round at a time, you tend to have lots of downtime during fights, so I find that the turret can create safe spaces for you to keep your magazine topped off. As for gadgets, I've settled nicely into this load out here. The defibs are a must-have, bringing downed teammates into the safety of your sentry nest, and protecting them while they revive is a great way to stall fights out and therefore secure objectives. Whilst I prefer the jump pad with the CL-40, it's mostly a matter of personal preference which mobility tool you bring to the party. And lastly, but certainly not least, the new and improved Season 3 iteration of the Glitch Trap. These things are fantastic currently. I quite enjoy placing them around in places where enemies will be glitched if they are also being shot by the sentry gun. Due to the turret being kind of awful at killing anything, and the CL-40 being rather slow to kill, this build lends itself to more of a defensive play style that focuses on playing around your turret's flanks and ambushing people who are trying to get around your sentry gun or otherwise destroy it. The CL-40 is a surprisingly versatile weapon, and in my opinion, it lends itself best towards players who like to play more methodically. It rewards positioning and timing above all else, but still heavily incentivizes accurate aim thanks to its increased direct damage and rapid damage fall-off. Now then, on to our next subject for today's lecture, we have the MGL-32 for heavy class. It's a revolving action 6-round grenade launcher which reloads all 6 rounds simultaneously. Unlike the CL-40, this fires grenades which require 2 impacts before they explode, meaning that you no longer have the luxury of just pointing and clicking on the bad guys. Also to note, this launcher deals no additional direct damage and instead deals 83 damage in a large area of effect. Additionally, this weapon deals full self-damage, unlike the CL-40, so try not to hurt yourself with this thing. Because of how quirky this weapon is, it requires you to think about fights in a vastly different way. Instead of aiming at the enemy directly, you instead have to think about the space around you and how you can best push people into and out of positions. The sheer volume of fire this weapon delivers alone is enough to disorient players. So use this to control the flow of any engagement and bully players into bad positions. When you do inevitably find yourself on the losing side of an engagement, though, it's best to build some distance between you and your aggressors and always be on the lookout for angles and surfaces you can bounce grenades off of to punish people for chasing you. Now then, for suggested equipment, I think that Charge and Slam is a non-negotiable pick for the MGL-32. This weapon suffers immensely in close-range encounters, and Charge and Slam gives a quick and dirty way to deal with enemies in your face. Likewise, the RPG-7 is far too useful of a tool to not include, and it's a good idea to bring at least one defensive gadget like the barricades or dome shield. The only other non-negotiable pick, in my opinion, would be the motion sensor. This weapon lives and dies on your ability to predict player movements and positioning choices, and as such, prepping things like cash-out stations or terminals with motion sensors allows you to focus more on aiming the ricochets and create obscenely one-sided engagements with very few options for counterplay. The MGL-32 is an incredibly difficult weapon to use most of the time, but Heavy has the tools available to create the circumstances in which the MGL-32 excels in. This weapon doesn't really shine on its own, but when used in tandem with all the tools available to you, it can become one of the most downright terrifying weapons to be on the receiving end of, despite its close-range shortcomings. I think that about does it for today's lecture, so I hope you learned something about the grenade launchers this game has to offer. Have a good day, friends!